Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Awakening Heart, Community of Mindful Living here at Dallas Meditation Center. What a week it has been, and glad to see you hopefully on the other side of where we were from 1 week ago when we were together. Lots has happened, hasn't it? So anyway, really glad you could join us tonight. If you're here for the very first time, on YouTube, or maybe you're checking us out later in the week or some other time that you found this video, welcome to you as well. We will do our usual practice of a guided meditation and a talk, plus a few other things. And so just know there's no need to, do anything, or, you can, how do I say this? Not attach too much expectation, or maybe that's not the word, but not attach too much. I have to do this or that. Just enjoy the time and enjoy your breathing. Following our talk, we will go onto Zoom for interactive sharing and discussion. I will put that link up in the chat window later. And I welcome you now to check in the chat window on YouTube. And a little bit later, I might be able to read some of your check-ins. But for now, let's sit back and we'll enjoy the opening affirmation with Anne. So, listening to 3 sounds of the bell.
Noble community, we gather here now to honor the way of peace and nonviolence, the way of wisdom and compassion, the way of joy and beauty, in solidarity with one another, with all humanity, and with all life on earth. Friends on the path, we gather here now to deepen our solidity like a mountain, and to renew our freshness like a flower, through mindful sitting and walking, mindful singing and breathing, and mindful speaking and listening. Family of awakening, we gather here now to celebrate the one infinite light that shines through many religions and many cultures, to cultivate the wisdom of our many teachers, both ancestral and contemporary, and to affirm the capacity within ourselves and all persons of every race, gender, orientation, and tradition to realize full and complete enlightenment.
Hello, everyone. As Cornell was saying, I was remembering last Sunday, people were excited about snow that was falling outside their window. And I was saying, well, I don't have very much snow yet. And then when I got off the program and went and looked, there was a lot of snow. So everybody was excited about the snow. Little did we know. But anyway, I'm really glad that we've all managed to survive. I hope that many of you have at least got power back and you have some water. It's really been tragic for some people. And that's one of the things that I'd like us to remember this evening when we're meditating, is to keep in mind the people that are not doing so well, and to kind of hold them in our thoughts and in our hearts. So also this evening, we're going to have a special kind of meditation, and you will need a pen and some paper to help with this meditation tonight. And this might be a good time for you to find some paper and a pencil or a pen so that you can be prepared for the meditation that will come in a little bit. So, I would like to go back to Cornell so that he can kind of see who's been checking in on Zoom and say hello to the people that are there.
Well, hello. Yeah, we just have a few check-ins at the moment. Hello, John from Oak Cliff, Neil bowing in, and Luis bowing in to my friends and wishing you peace and sending you love. Back to you, Luis.
Okay, well, as people sign in, I'm sure that everybody hopefully will feel welcomed. So we're going to begin with the contemplation before sitting, and then we will begin with the meditation that will be led by Nick Lermer this evening. Contemplation before sitting. The Sangha is invited to go back to our breathing, so that our collective energy of mindfulness brings us together as an organism, going as a river with no more separation. Let the whole Sangha breathe as one body, generate peace as one body, be free as one body. Let us transcend the boundaries of a delusive self, liberating ourselves from the superiority complex, the inferiority complex, and the equality complex. We are aware that the happiness and suffering of all people is also our own happiness and suffering. We see ourselves in all people, and all people in ourselves. We are one with those caught in situations of oppression. We are also one with the oppressors. We are one with the good and wise people who are everywhere in the world. We are one with those who are able to embrace the whole of this world with their heart of love and their two arms of caring action. We are a people with enough peace, joy, and freedom to be able to offer fearlessness and the joy of life to living beings around us. We see that we are not alone. The love and the joy of great beings who are present in this world are supporting us and not allowing us to drown in despair, showing us the way of understanding, compassion, and right action. So let's enjoy our meditation.
Thank you, everyone. I'm very grateful for this opportunity to share and be with you tonight. Just want to give you a little quick background on this. This is something I learned over 20 years ago from a gentleman who was a professor at Dartmouth. His name was John Rassius, and he was a wonderful teacher, had a real gift for it. I find this grounding. I have also found this poetic. It helps you connect into the moment through the use of all your senses. So I'd like you to take your piece of paper, and on the left-hand side of the paper, from the top down to the bottom, not left to right, but top to bottom, write the words. First line says, I see. The next line will be, I smell. Then I taste, I touch, and I hear. Okay. Okay, now before we really get started, everybody just needs to take a couple of just really relaxing, settling breaths. And as you look at each line on the paper, I want you to think of the word that is after the ones you've written, almost like an answer without it being a test, of course. I want you to take about a minute and fill in, what do you see? What do you smell? What do you taste, touch, and hear? And I'll give you about a minute. And if you would just take your time and just go from there. Okay, now for the poetry part. I want you to take what you've written, and I want you to take your pen or pencil and just put a simple line through the words you wrote first. The I see, the I smell, etc. And what remains on your paper is a poem of your observing the moment. Now, the one I wrote, just to give you an idea, would be candlelight, incense, lip balm, earth, breathing. Now, this brief poetic mindful activity that you just participated in is a great technique. I use it when I get writer's block, when I'm too all over the place. So I settle myself by asking myself those 5 questions. What is it? You know, it's great. You don't even need to do it on a piece of paper. Once you learn the technique, you can say while you're sitting in traffic, or you're in line somewhere, while you're going to the grocery store, or trying to find water. A quick aside to this, it's not the list, the way that I mentioned the different senses is not static. It doesn't have to be in that order. Although I would suggest I see to be a great starting point. It's a great prompt to get you started. I want you just to sit for a few minutes and listen to yourself. Read your poem. Breathe. And enjoy. Thank you, everyone. And maybe when we get to discussion, if anybody wants to share their poem, that would be a good time to do it. But thank you very much. Take that with you. Take that technique, use it as you need. And now for the chants.
May all beings be happy. May all beings be free. May all beings be joyful. May all beings be at peace. Brahma Vihara Maitri. Brahma Vihara Karuna. Brahma Vihara Mudita. Brahma Vihara Upeksha. May all beings be happy. May all beings be free. May all beings be joyful. May all beings be at peace. May all beings be at peace. May all beings be at peace.
And now please join us for our refuge chant.
The three jewels of our practice represent the qualities and nature that is in all of us. Our Buddha nature is our nature to move past obstacles, the guiding force that helps us to move along a path to freedom. The Dharma represents the words and teachings that help to keep us moving forward on our path to freedom. The Dharma is expressed not only in the words we hear and read, but in the words that each of us uses when we communicate. The Sangha is the community that gathers and positively supports each other along the path to freedom. Our practice group that is gathered today is a Sangha. Those that could not make it today are also the Sangha. Our families and other supportive groups in our everyday lives are also part of our Sangha. We take refuge in the Buddha, the awakening heart of infinite light, that which shows us the way in this life. We take refuge in the Dharma, the awakening path of infinite light, the way of understanding and of love. We take refuge in the Sangha, the awakening community of infinite light, those who live in harmony and awareness.
Thank you, Nick, for that wonderful meditation. I can see the value of this, and I think I will practice it a bit more so that I can spend a little more time with it and really just get all of the value that I see in it. But I really like this, and thank you for sharing it. Tonight we're going to be visited. Our talk is with Lisa November. Lisa's been with us before, and she is an aspirant who practices with a Fort Worth Sangha. And we're just always delighted to have Lisa with us. And so I'm going to turn the program over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Bobby. Yes, it was quite a week to be able to write something and bring it here to share with all of you. I went really old school. I used a composition notebook because we had no electricity for 4 days. So the computer wasn't really available. And I use books for research. Imagine that, looking stuff up in books and not Googling things. So it takes a lot more time. But it was a really, it was an exercise that I got a lot out of. And ultimately it was a really kind of a new old way for me to bring this talk to you. Reminded me of, way back in the ancient 1980s when I had to write papers that way for my bachelor degree. But when Bobby asked me, which was a few weeks ago, I don't know, Bobby, if you had asked me last Sunday, I might have said no. Bobby asked me a few weeks ago to speak today, and he was telling me that the idea was about friends on the path. And this quote came to mind immediately, a quote I had read. I'd like to share it with you now, start our time together with it. So, imagine for a moment that everything you see, hear, smell, touch, and taste is your very best friend. The spoon in your hand and the distant sound of traffic, the raindrops running down your back and the smell of dirty laundry, the blue sky and the flavor of cumin. These are not mere passing encounters with two-dimensional items. Instead, imagine for a moment that everything you are experiencing is your very, very best friend saying hello. And the author of that is a man named Michael Carroll. I'm not familiar really with his other work. And Nick and I didn't have that meditation plan, but it worked pretty well, huh, Nick? So really, the title of this quote could be Friends on the Path. Because whatever path we're on, that we should be encountering our very, very best friends. I'd like to read it once more, just phrase by phrase, so we can experience it and look at it a little more deeply. Imagine for a moment that everything you see, hear, smell, touch, and taste is your very best friend. So right here with that first line, what are we talking about? Everything we can sense. Buddhism tells us we have the 6 sense consciousnesses: sight, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, and our mind conscious. Can you see yourself, feel yourself using these 6 amazing receptors to really get in touch with the world around you? Imagine walking out of your door tonight or tomorrow morning and seeing the day, really seeing it as this amazing manifestation that it truly is. Whether or not it's a beautiful, sunny, warm day or a cloudy, windy, snowy day like we had last week. Imagine stepping out into your day and acknowledging all these marvels as your very best friends. Hello, sky. Hello, Earth. Hello, Miss Magnolia Tree over there. Can you greet each one as a very best friend, using your senses to really deepen this connection? I think I sense a practice here we all could do. We could call this our very best friend practice. And it does really go so well with the idea of the poem that Nick gave us that I love that. Let's return to our quote. The next few lines, it goes, the spoon in your hand and the distant sound of traffic, the raindrops running down your back and the smell of dirty laundry, the blue sky and the smell of cumin. These are not mere passing encounters with two-dimensional items. I'm curious, I wonder how you interpret this part of the quote. If we were all together face to face in DMC Meditation Hall, this is where we could have a nice little discussion on that right now. So maybe you can type something in the chat. I don't know. We'll put Cornell in charge of that. I just wonder how you interpret this part of it. I'm happy to share my thoughts right now. After a few readings of this quote, I thought of how expansive the first part was. From the spoon, the pen, the book, whatever is right here in your immediate vicinity, to the sound of traffic, maybe way out there, to the vision of each one of you, to each one of you in your homes, to each pixel on the computer screen that's drawing us all together. I wondered what Thich Nhat Hanh would say about this. Well, actually, I remembered something I read in his book, The Other Shore. So again, instead of Googling it, I went to the bookshelf with my mittens on and my hat on my head and pulled this book off the shelf. And in The Other Shore, Thich tells us, quote, our senses can now extend across the whole of the electromagnetic spectrum, allowing us to see radiant nebula only visible in the frequencies of radio waves, end quote. Radiant nebula, also our very best friend. So we're talking about the things just right here that we can touch and see and smell, maybe the things in your poem, all the way to the expanse of the cosmos, right? From the spoon in your hand to the distant sounds. It's really quite amazing. Moving on, how about the raindrops running down your back, the smell of dirty laundry? For me, this brings to mind the idea that that our intent here is not to label or judge or look for signs. Let me explain. Use the raindrops. So the raindrops falling down my back. That may be very pleasant or unpleasant. My wife and I hike a lot. If we were hiking and it was a really, really hot day, raindrops down my back might be entirely welcomed, a little relief from the heat. But if I was out somewhere getting professional photographs taken with my family, and we're all in our very best clothes, well, you get the idea. Raindrops down my back might not be as welcomed at that point. That's because our minds, my mind anyway, immediately put stuff in the historic dimension rather than in the ultimate. I kind of judge things and think about how it affects me right here, right now, in this moment. We'll talk more about the historic dimension and the ultimate dimension a little later. Let's move on to the smell of dirty laundry. Right? Never really pleasant. So why is dirty laundry in our quote here? Can you greet that as a very best friend? That may be a little more difficult. Of course, if you've read any Thich Nhat Hanh, if you're a student of Thich Nhat Hanh at all, you might be thinking of no mud, no lotus, or can you see the rose in the garbage and the garbage in the rose? Can you see your very best friend in your dirty laundry? If you can do these things, you're on your way to transforming suffering into joy. And again, it all depends on your mind consciousness. Here's how I see it. Here's my usual way of doing laundry. It's full of things my mom taught me, of course. Something like, oh, darn it. Look, I got mud all over my favorite jeans because I wore my Sunday jeans out into the garden and did some gardening. And now I've probably ruined my nicest pair of jeans. Or, oh, look at that mustard stain right on the front of my favorite t-shirt. Gosh, I'm such a slob in the first place. And then I'm forgetful and I didn't treat the mustard stain in time. So now it's probably set and, well, on and on. And those things might be true in one sense, but could I change the view, my mind view a little bit to see, oh, that mustard drop. I remember now. That's from when Leanne made those great veggie burgers out on the grill. We sat out on the deck and we laughed and we played cards and we sang songs. And the mud on my jeans. Wow, that's when I planted those collard greens that grew so well almost all winter until the blizzard and did so great. This is how I can reconcile with the dirty laundry. How can you find a very best friend in your dirty laundry? The next part of our quote talks about the blue sky, the smell of cumin. These are not mere passing encounters with two-dimensional items. When I think of two dimensions, I think of a painting or a photo, the height, the width of it, a flat surface. And in literary terms, it means shallow or superficial, like a novel having two-dimensional characters. Thank you, Merriam-Webster Dictionary, the real dictionary in a book, not online. The deep blue of the sky, the pungent notes of cumin on the tongue. These are not two-dimensional, but we often go through our daily lives seeing, reacting, perceiving people, places, events, everything as a painting, as something superficial. Instead, imagine for a moment that everything you are experiencing is your very, very best friend saying hello. This final sentence of our quote lands us right in the ultimate dimension. Remember, we started in the historic dimension. We usually think of that as time and space and form. And, we really need this dimension in order to function and survive. We need to know and label things. Stopping at a red light and going on a green light. Yellow light, well, that's up for grabs. Some people think it means to slow down, while Other people, I think maybe mostly in Dallas, think it means to speed up. Not here in Fort Worth. We always slow down for the yellow lights. Back to the historical dimension, though, because it can become an albatross around our necks when we want to go deeper. This is why the Buddha gave us the teachings on the 3 doors of liberation. They are emptiness, signlessness, and aimlessness. These 3 concentrations give us a deep insight into what it means to really be alive, to really realize our aliveness, our relation to everything in the universe. We don't have to stop at the historic dimension when there's the ultimate. We can transform feelings of loneliness and alienation and find our very, very best friends. The door I particularly wanted to touch on tonight is signlessness, because I think it relates especially well to our quote. Thich Nhat Hanh teaches about signlessness with the idea of a cloud. We look up, we see a beautiful cloud thinking, oh, so pretty. Then we look up in another minute and it's gone. So we think, oh, that cloud is gone. We think this way because we get caught up in signs, appearances, and familiar forms. And this distracts us from seeing the true nature of reality. So our challenge here is to recognize phenomenon in its new forms. The cloud is still there. It's just turned to rain or dissipated in some other way. So our friend here, Michael Carroll, that gave us this quote. Would you be surprised if I told you he was a Buddhist life coach and therapist and writer? Probably not. He lists many forms and many signs. The spoon, the raindrops, our dirty laundry, the sky. They are ultimately formless, signless, and empty of a separate self. The rain will become your drinking water. The sky? Well, you know you have stardust from the sky in you right now. The ultimate reality beyond all perceptions, forms, signs, and ideas. This is our, quote, true nature of the cosmos, end quote, as Thich would say. All phenomenon is changing. What is a beautiful rose today will be composting tomorrow. And maybe in 6 weeks, the compost is nurturing a kernel of corn into a stalk of corn. When the corn is fully developed, can you still see the kernel in there? If you look closely, you will see it there. Look closely at yourself. Can you still see the shy 5-year-old, the awkward teenager? Of course you can. Can you greet yourself as your very, very best friend? If we want to touch the ultimate, we have to look within our own selves, our own bodies and minds, not outside of them. If your awareness, your mindfulness are practiced well and always with you, maybe you want to take a mindful walk in nature. Contemplate a live oak tree, all of its tiny acorns, or a beautiful sunset, or your own human breath. You do this and you will be touching the true nature of the cosmos. What a joy it is to breathe in and out, to be alive. And even this past week we've been through, your experiences, can you find a way to make the storm your very best friend. Can you find a way to use the lessons of being without electricity, maybe without water? Here in my home, we never did lose our water, but we didn't have power for 4 days. And I didn't think of that as being a very best friend, but I found my very best friend in my wife and in my dogs and in the fireplace we had. And I mean, our whole block cleared out. Everybody left down our street, and we know everybody on our street. It's a pretty close community here. But it was me and Leanne and our dogs and the Canadians next door. Those were the only people left on the street. Everyone else found a relative's home to go to or a hotel. But we wanted to kind of stick it out. We wanted to be here if our pipes froze, or, you know, we still felt like our dogs were more at home here. So when I look back on going through something that was really a suffering, I see that there's also a lot of joy there too. I can take it out of that historical context, because the historical dimension in me wants to blame politicians and corporate greed and all kinds of things. And that's not to say that does not need to be reckoned with. It absolutely does. But for me, inside here, it also put me in touch with things that are really important to me, with my very, very best friends. So in that way, I can think of the storm as being a best friend. After all, Thich tells us, quote, "I am only made of non-me elements, such as the sun and the ancestors. In a relationship, if you can see the nature of interbeing between you and that other person, you can see that their suffering is your own suffering, and their happiness is your own happiness. We are all inextricably linked." So I'd like to end finally tonight with this poem. It's called Sea High Above, and it's written by Melina Morling, is her name. So here's the poem. You step outside into the early morning, and at the exact same instant, a scrap of paper floats over. High in the blue, blustery library of the air, you look up and you see it rushing and lifting even higher into the transparent layers of the sky. And at once, you know, it's a message. A message that there is no message. A scrap of paper is just a scrap of paper. It is weightless and free. The world is just the world. And you are exactly who you are, also floating now high inside the invisible balloon of another moment. So thank you for listening this evening. And I hope that you all find your very, very best friends.
Oh, thank you so much, Lisa. Wow. I just, there's so much to talk about, so I hope everybody joins us to share because I like the quote. I liked it when I first read it, but your explanation and breaking it apart, that was wonderful. I thought about the dirty laundry. I did laundry yesterday, and the blessing is that I have clothes to wash, you know, and I have a machine in which to wash them, and yeah, so there's a lot there that we can share with one another. And I had no idea that Nick's meditation was going to fit so perfectly. Um, it's it's so wonderful when everything lines up like that. So great, wonderful. Um, I really hope that everybody that's on YouTube will join us and share what your thoughts about what Lisa said and your thoughts about the meditation and whatever has come up for you. I'd just love to hear you and see you, just to see people's faces and know that for sure we're not together in person, but we are together in this way, and we are together in our hearts. So hope you'll join us. Cornell is going to tell you, well, he's already put it in the chat window, I'm sure. So you can see where we are on Zoom, and you will hopefully join us there.
So you'll see that link over there, and you can join us in a moment. And just a reminder that our group is supported by the community. The community is me. The community is you over there on the other side of this screen. And please do share in Dana to that we're all giving and receiving, and that we can continue to do so, and that this community continues to thrive. There are links for that in the video description and also in the chat window, and you can go there at dallasmeditationcenter.com/give or text the word mindful to 44321. And we have one more check-in in the window, and after that what we'll do, we'll have Anne lead us in the closing affirmation, and then we'll head over to Zoom. But the other check-in is Julie bowing in from North White Rock Creek Robin and Bluebird Flock Festival. Oh, sounds very nice. And what an amazing day to be outdoors too. Yeah, that's let's see. You can find the Zoom link in the window, in the chat window. Neil says, "Wow is right," in response to I think that's in response to Bobby's wow after Lisa's talk. Yeah, very nice talk. So let's all give 2 sounds of the bell, and Anne will lead us in the closing 4 vows of awakening beings.
Countless beings we vow to free, ceaseless afflictions we vow to end, limitless truth doors we vow to open, the deepest paths of awakening we vow to realize.
Thank you, everyone. Please join us over on Zoom if you're on YouTube, and we'll say goodbye to YouTube right now, and hop over onto the Zoom link, and we look forward to chatting with you there. So so long to you on YouTube.